Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So, let's begin our today's session. Yesterday, we have completed a very important topic. Today's topic is also very important, which is managing SE Linux. But in this concept, what we are going to cover up are the basics of SE Linux, which is more than enough for our working environments, which is more than enough for clearing certification also. Advanced details and many other things are required only when you are going to be an architect or a bigger level concept in your organization. But otherwise, in most of the cases, knowledge about SE Linux, what we are going to learn, is more than enough. See guys, SE Linux stands for Security Enhanced Linux. So what does that mean? Normally, for security reasons, we use normal permissions like read, write, execute, SUID, SGID, sticky bit, ACLs. We use firewalls, antiviruses. So to make it further more stronger, on the top of your existing security, we will try to apply one more layer of security, which is called as SE Linux security. So normally, if you look in security models, there are two types of security models. One is discretionary access control, and the other one is mandatory access control. What happens is, suppose your system is hacked, right? People gain access somehow. They got root password, or they break into your system by breaking the passwords or something like that. Once they gain access to the system, they gain access to everything in the system. Wherever they want, they can move in. Wherever they want, they can go and come out. So maybe I don't want such type of thing. If even though people gain access to my system, I want to restrict them not to have full access of the system, even though if somehow they gain the access. So in this scenario, what we'll do, we'll apply SE Linux. SE Linux policies will be controlled and managed directly by kernel. That makes it even more stronger and important. Now, if someone gains access to your system somehow by using external applications, for example, through FTP, HTTP, Samba, DNS, different methods are there, or SSH, through which when they gain the access, when they come into your system, we can restrict them only till one place. We can make sure that they cannot roam freely to all the environments, right? So even though people have gained access somehow to my system, SE Linux will make sure that they cannot do anything freely anywhere, whatever they wanted to do. There would be extra layer of security that would be protecting people from not to do nasty things. So that's what SE Linux will do. Now, when you are maintaining SE Linux, it is not like that you don't need antiviruses or firewalls. They are also needed. SE Linux is an additional layer of security that protects and tightens the security of your system. So we need SE Linux, and at the same time, we need other security systems as well. Now, how SE Linux will be working? Let's see a small example of SE Linux workflow. See, there is two things. One is subject and the other one is object. Now, between subject and object, subject is nothing but a process that you are using to connect to the system or to access something in the system. Object is that thing that you want to access. It can be a file or directory or any configuration thing that you want to access. So maybe through FTP or HTTP or SSH or any other process, I am logging into the system and I'm trying to access a file. Now, between subject and object, we will have SE Linux security server, where all policies and other things would be defined. So there it would check whether this activity that this process is trying to do is valid, shall it be allowed or not. If we have defined in the policy that yes, this kind of activities are allowed, so it will grant access to the object. If no, then it define, even though you have logged in as root, doesn't matter, you won't be allowed to do that activity unless you make changes in the configuration. So that's how SE Linux will protect your system not to have access to all things. Even though you got access through root or something also, it's still going to protect it. That's how every activity you're trying to change the directory, you're trying to upload the data, download the data, modify the things, or going into any configuration, doing any activities, all that thing will be monitored by SE Linux. What are the activities we have allowed? Only that will be allowed to continue. Others will be keep on blocked. Now there are the configuration files for SE Linux, which is etc se linux config, and the other configuration is etc sysconfig se linux. First file is your main file. Second file is the link for it. So any file you edit, you will be editing the first file only. So first is your original location. Second is nothing but your soft link, right? I can show you. Let me log in into the machine. I have powered on the machine already. So your main file, if you read it, cat etc se linux config, right? Or you read cat etc what was the location, sysconfig and se linux. You see you're getting same thing. Now if you just read the second file permission, ls-l etc sysconfig se linux, it says that this is nothing but a link file which is pointing towards se linux config file, right? etc se linux config file. So that's how it is going to go. So original file is etc se linux config file. So major changes we will do in this config file. We'll talk about what are the changes we'll do inside it. Let's talk about something called modes of SE Linux. Everything has a mode, guys. Even you look around, there will be an electric switch which has two modes, on or off. Same way, SE Linux has three modes: enforcing, permissive, and disabled. Let me name it simplified way. Enforcing you can understand as active mode. The mode which is active, which is protecting your system against hacking, breaching, other things. SE Linux is completely active. Whereas if you look out for disable, disable means it is inactive, right? No SE Linux protection whatsoever. Now between enforcing and disable, there is one more mode, permissive, which is neither completely active nor completely deactive. It is something in between. See, normally what happens, guys, that whenever you want to change the mode from enforcing to disable, you have to reboot your system. Remember this point very well, that whenever you want to change the mode from enforcing to disable, you have to restart your machine. Without restarting, you cannot put from enforcing to disable. And again from disable, if you want to go back to enforcing, you have to restart your machine. In either of the cases, you have to restart your machine from enforcing to disable and disable to enforcing. Now guys, just imagine we are working on a production environment. Do you think on a production environment I can easily restart the machines every now and then? Suppose suddenly there is a problem with SE Linux and I want to debug that problem. I want to fix it. So to fix it, I want to deactivate it, right? But to deactivate, I have to reboot the machine. Now I want to avoid that rebooting. So for that purpose, we can put SE Linux in permissive mode. Now you can treat permissive mode as warning mode. Now what does this warning mode means? See, warning mode means it does not protect anything. It's like it is not working. but at the same time it is going to log the activities that are going on. So no protection of SE Linux would be there so that you can debug, you can fix the issues with SE Linux. But at the same time, whatever is happening in the system, and if it is against SE Linux, it will log the activities or it might print warnings also. Right? So if you want to go from enforcing to permissive and permissive to enforcing, there is no reboot required because you are not completely removing SE Linux protection. You are temporarily withdrawing it. So that is the reason permissive mode was introduced. If you completely want to disable, you have to reboot. And if it is completely disabled, you want to again activate it, even in that case also, you need to reboot the system. So I don't want it to reboot my machine every often if I have to fix the issues. So there is permissive mode. Put your mode of SE Linux in permissive, fix the issues, and again bring it back active without rebooting. So these are the three important modes in SE Linux what you can put. Then the next important thing is booleans. I hope you're aware of what is booleans. Generally, booleans are the small options which can be set to true or false or on and off. So booleans are nothing but the small activities that you can control. Whether user can change the directory true or false, user can upload the data true or false, user can download the data true or false. So like that, small activities that you can control in SE Linux are called as booleans. Okay. Thereafter, the major thing that drives the whole SE Linux is SE Linux policies. Unfortunately, we are not going to touch the part of policy because that requires a great knowledge of security, analysis and other things, right? So we don't even require to work with our organizational purpose and all. There will be architect level people who will be designing the policies. So we are just going to use them. We are not going to design them. It's like we are learning how to drive a car. We are not learning how to design or make a car. We're just learning how to use it or how to drive it. But there is one major part inside it. What I'm going to cover up is SE Linux context. SE Linux context is like permission. Normally, you have read, write, execute permissions, right? In the same way, we have permissions in SE Linux also, right? So what is that permission? Like a file is there, how you want SE Linux to treat that file. So according to SE Linux, you can apply a context on the top of file. So whatever context is applied, according to that context, SE Linux will treat that file. So you can apply this context on a file, you can apply it on a directory. So this is called as context, right? So according to context, SE Linux will protect or unprotect a file. So it's like a permissions only. Normally you have read, write, execute permissions. So SE Linux will also have a kind of permission which is called as context. Now let me show you how to know what are the state of SE Linux. See, to check the state of SE Linux, you can go with two commands. You can go with get enforce or you can go with SE status. So if I go with a command get enforce, you'll find that right now SE Linux is in enforcing mode. Now if you want to get further more information, you can run SE status. So it says SE Linux is right now enabled, it is working. And the mount point is sysfs SE Linux. What does it keeps? If you just check what is inside it, you'll find it is storing your booleans, it is storing contexts, it is storing policies. All that informations are stored in your sysfs Linux. That is nothing but mount point. So mount point is nothing but when SE Linux is active, it stores its data in sysfs SE Linux. If you disable SE Linux, you'll not find that mount point because you know mount point does not hold anything. Originally, SE Linux will keep its stuff somewhere. It is going to be mounted on that location for our convenience. And You see, there are two things what we have to understand. Ignore policy models, what is this policy related things, we are not going to touch that part. Concentrate on this. What is the current mode of SE Linux? It is enforcing. And what is the mode from configuration file? See, current mode is nothing but the mode which is present right now. It can be changed. If it is enforcing, I'll make it permissive. If it is permissive, I'll make it enforcing. But does this change make it a permanent change? Just imagine the same thing what we did in partitions. When you mount a partition temporarily, it is mounted, but does it make it a permanent mount? No. It becomes a permanent mount when you update fstab. What is fstab? A config file. So current mode can be anything. I can change it from one mode to other. It becomes permanent only when you update the same thing in config file. So every time the system restart, what mode it is going to come, that is the thing which is stored in configuration file. So it says right now it is enforcing, and in the configuration file also it is enforcing. That means right now it is enforcing, even after reboot it is going to be enforcing because config is updated with that value only. Moving ahead, I have some files over here. Now I would like to check what is the context of this file. If you say ls-l and the file name, it shows you general normal permissions of the file. Now, if you want to see what is SE Linux context applied to it, according to SE Linux, how it is going to be treated, just add after regular permission capital Z. When you add capital Z or Z, it shows you that it is going to be accessible by administrator, because it says that this file belongs to admin's home directory, so only the admin, that is root, will allow to access it. Suppose as a normal user you have logged in and you try to access it, it is not going to allow you to do that. According to SE Linux, it should only be accessed by administrator. It is administrator's home stuff. So ignore all these things. These are related to policy. Concentrate on these things. Now these contexts varies from situation to situation, concept to concept, whatever you are using. Till the end of our curriculum, we are going to learn many contexts. Unfortunately, there is no one file or one place where I can read all the context and which context can be used for what purpose. I really feel that it should have been there, that there should be a documentation where we can learn that which context to be applied in which scenario. But anyway, whenever we are doing a work, especially on production environment, you won't be given test and trial things. What happens is there will be an SME who has created some document, some process, so that documented steps will be given to us. So whatever context we have to apply, that would be available in that documentation. So what we have to do, we have to follow the documentation and apply the context. So at least we should know how to apply, change or modify the context in order to use it. So suppose I have a directory and I want to check the context of a directory. Same stuff. ls-ld, just add capital Z and you will find the context. So whenever with normal permissions, if you add this concept, it is going to show you what is the context of the directory, right? Fine. You can also see the context of a process also. One way is ps-ef, it will show all the processes. Same place, if you add capital Z, it might show you what are the context applied. For example, if you want to see SSH process concept, just go with grep sshd, so it might show you the detail. Or there is one more way. You can just say, what was the command? Se context, sorry. I just forgot that concept. One second. I'm just forgetting that command. I'm so sorry. se manage, I'm sorry, se manage hyphen L. Is that the command? Yes, I have. So, se manage f context hyphen L. Okay, if I do grep for SSH, something like that. Okay, so you see here also it is showing you what is the context that is applied for any process or something like that, right? There used to be one more command which I'm forgetting. Se port or something used to be there. Anyway, I'll just do some research on that and I'll let you know what was the exact command I was looking for. One second, give me a moment. I'll just get back to you. Okay, I think the command is se manage port-L. Now if I go with grep and SSH or SSHD, right? So this is also a way for every process you can check what kind of context it is applying. Anyway, I don't want to make it complicated. Ignore this. So if you want to see a file's detail, you can just go with se-ls-lz. For a directory, you can say ls-ldz and the directory stuff. If you want to see the directory's contents, you can say ls-lz. So here in my directory, you can see there are a number of subdirectories and files. So all those, what is the context applied, I'm able to view it. Now moving forward, what I wanted to do is I want to change the context. As I told you guys, there are list of context that you can change depending on situation to situation, but there is no proper command, or there is no proper manual pages that helps you with what context to be applied. And as I told you, while you're working, you will be given a documentation. According to that, we have to modify anything we have to do. So let us say that we are I have this file. I have this file. The file name is my file, for example. Now, if you see, there is a context here, admin home t. Maybe I wanted to change that and I want to make it something else, something whatever I want to make it. So how I can change it? See, in order to change it, there is a command called chcon. Change the context type to what? Now, like admin home, there are many other contexts. For example, there is a context called public content. So public content is like giving access to everyone, like full permission, read, write, execute. Anybody can read, anybody can write, and anybody can execute. Everyone can have access to it. So that's how public content will act. So in few situations we use it. For an example, I'm using it here. On which file? my file, and this change is permanent, guys. This is not a temporary change. So till we change further, your file will be having the context public content. Now immediately you will observe that this file, which was not able to access by normal users, will be now allowed to access by normal user. Why? Because we have kept that this particular file is now accessible by everyone. Same thing, I want to do it on a directory. Let us say we have this directory mydir, and in this directory I have couple of files and directories. All at once I want to modify to public content. Everything what you see here, I want to change it to public content. The main directory, the content, everything. To modify everything, we'll go with a command chcon -R. Capital R stands for recursive. You know what's the role of recursive? We have learned in copy and remove commands, right? So it goes into directory and everything inside it will be modified. So recursively change the type to public content T. For which directory? My directory. Now don't make spelling mistake. If you make spelling mistake, it won't work. So let me go for ls-ldz. You see I changed the context. Now if you look inside the directory, all the files and all the directories inside it is showing public content. That is the same thing. So that's how you are going to change the context of the directory and all the files inside it in a single shot. That's how it works. Okay. Now, let us say that like that, we have changed the context multiple times. I have changed first from admin home to public content, and then I changed it to something called SSH some XYZ, and there I have changed it to Samba share. Multiple times I have changed the context of a file or directory. Now what I want to do is I want to reset it back to default. Now I don't really know what was the default value, right? And I don't want to know also. What I want to do is I want to run a command, and when I run that command, automatically the context should be reset to its default value. How can I reset it to the default one? Say in that scenario, we have a command called restore con. See, everything is mentioned in your manual with example. So we go with restore con. That's the full form of restore context. So I'll say restore con -v. V is an optional flag which shows output. Suppose you want to see the output, what was earlier and what is changed to now in the output, so you can use V. If you don't use V, no output will be displayed. On which file? My file. So you see it says that Linux policy, which was public content, is now replaced with admin home T. So that is the default value of this particular file. So earlier it was public content. After reset, it came back to admin home. So you change SE Linux to many things, does not matter. But when you run restore con, it is going to bring it back to its default value. Now let us say that I would like to do the same thing on the directory as well. How can I do it on the directory as well? Let me show you that. See, on the directory, if you are trying to do this activity, probably you want to do it recursive. I assume that you want to do it recursive. So I have a directory, and in this directory, I have number of files. So in a single shot, I want to restore the directory and all the files inside it. How can I restore it? I'll say restore con -capital R. If you don't use capital R, only the main directory will be changed. Contents will remain the same. So if you want to see the output, add V. I'm not interested to see the output, so I'm leaving V. On which directory? My dir. Now you go back with ls-ldz, you see earlier it was public content, which is now changed to admin home. Same way, if you look out the content inside it, all the content was earlier public content, which is now replaced back with admin home. So this is the way how you can change the context to whatever given, and you can restore it back to whatever you want later. Now let us say that I want to make one particular context as a default context to some file. How can I make any context as a default context? This is also important concept, guys. Suppose, see, we cannot do experiment in root because root is a restricted area. In this, you cannot make any default context, you cannot change it. The reason is, as a root, SE Linux will not allow you to do such experiments. So what we'll do, we'll go to some other directory and do this experiment. I'll create one file. Okay, there is a question coming in. So if we change the context to public, the file or directory will be accessible by everyone. SE Linux will allow you to do. That means there will no restriction from SE Linux. It's like people are coming to your office. So your security guard has allowed people to go into the office. So they come, but when they reach to a main door, there is an access control. So that access control is SE Linux. So people are entering, but they were not able to access it. Once you do it, then they would be able to access it. Usually this happens with applications, like you use SAP application, FTP, HTTP, NFS. Through NFS, through HTTP, even after giving full permission also, you are not able to access it. When you check, you will find SE Linux is blocking it. So when you do that change, the applications will be allowed to access it. So application level, these changes will be affected. Normally the users, when you log in, it might not make a great sense. Through application, it is going to work. I'll show you proper example when we go with some applications like NFS and HTTP, where I'll show you practically how these things will block. But usually with application, when you are not able to access a file in the system, then SE Linux will be controlling that thing which you have to change. And yes, after you do that, all application members will be allowed to access that file. All right. So let me create some file in slash with the name called SE file. Now if you check SE file, or you check the context, in fact the context it is showing you is etc runtime t. Now people can change it to whatever they like with root power. What I want to do is, whenever they change it to whatever they like, when they run restore con, I want it to be restored to a value called samba underscore share, something like that. So how can I make a context as a default context for any file? The command goes like this: se manage f context, file context, hyphen a, add a default value, hyphen t, type, whatever type. The type here is samba underscore share underscore t. Usually it will be in underscores, right? Followed by the file name. So let me go for it. I'll say se manage f context. I want to add a default value whose type should be samba or anything. You can again add public content also. Samba underscore share underscore t. Maybe I want to use it with samba application, so I'm setting it to samba share t. For which file? Se file. Now you see it is going to take some time because it is updating some configuration file. Which config file it is updating? You can just go to this file, etc se linux targeted context files file context.local. Such a big location is there. If you view that, there it will tell you that which file is going to have this context. So let me go and read this file, etc Selinux targeted context, then what it is, files, file context.local. So if you view, it says that for /se file, always the default context will be samba underscore share underscore t. Now let's do our experiment. As of now, the context is etc runtime t. Now if I want to restore it, I'll say restore con -v, the file is se file. See, it says earlier it was etc runtime, which is now changed to samba share underscore t. So what happened here? I made a context as a default. Now whenever whoever restore it, they're going to come back to samba share. If you just check it out, you will find over here that it is samba underscore share underscore t. That is how it is going to show you the context, and you will be able to restore it in that fashion. Now moving forward, same thing, I want to do it for a directory. So I'm going to create a directory, maybe with the name SCDIR, and inside this directory I'm going to create some files, maybe file 1, 2, 3, just 3 files I want to create. If you check the context of the directory, it might say something default underscore t. And if you check the files inside it, they are also showing default underscore t. Now, not only for the directory, but all the content which is present inside it, I want to make some default context. So the command starts the same way. You have to say se manage file context. I want to add, if you are deleting, you have to say d to delete a default context. To add, I have to say -a. The type I want to go this time is httpd syscontent. I'm just trying to show different. Maybe this time I wanted to use it for HTTP web server purpose. So I'll say httpd underscore sys underscore content. I don't want to make any spelling mistake. Right. And which directory you want to change? I want to change it for the directory called SCDIR. Now if you do like that, only the directory's context will be set to default, but we have some content in the directory. So my requirement is not only the directory, but the content present inside it should also have the same default context. So in that scenario, there is a different approach we are going to apply. You have to say double quotes directory address. Then in a bracket, you have to give /.star. That means you are setting everything which is present, question mark, that I'm going to create coming time. So whatever is present in the directory and in future whatever I'm going to add, everything is going to have the same context. So the method is changed. I'll go with double quotes. Now inside the directory, whatever I create, /.star and question mark. So not only the directory, but everything that is present that would be created in future should also have same context. Now again, it is going to update the same file. See, if you are deleting, in place of A, everything will be same. In place of A, you have to type D, so that default context will be removed. Now if you go and check the default file, did you find for the directory and all its content, the context should be httpd syscontent. So if you just check out the directory, which is SEDIR, it shows default T. All the files inside it, they are also showing default T. Now if I say restore con recursively for entire directory, now you go with ls-ldz, did you find it changed to httpd syscontent? and all the files are same. Now don't worry what is the impact of these context. We are going to learn the impact when we go with some application. As of now, I'm just showing you one side of SE Linux. The other side practically I'll show you when we learn to configure HTTP, NFS, Samba. There we will learn that how these contexts are blocking and helping it. Okay, especially in Samba, I'll show you the role of this context very well. All right. Fine. So just learn what I'm showing you. That is important for us in production environment, in certification also. You have to change lots of context to clear the certification exam. Okay. Now let's try to talk about booleans. What did I told you guys about booleans? Booleans are nothing but the small options that you can turn on and off, right? To view all the booleans, you can go with a command set sebool -a. When you hit enter, sorry, get sebool, I'm so sorry. So when you go with get sebool -a, it displays all the booleans and their current status. Are they turn off or turn on or turned off? But I'm not interested to see all. Maybe I'm interested to see only related to an application called FTP. So when you grep for FTP, it starts showing you all FTP related booleans. If you say I'm interested to see only MySQL, so it is only going to show you about MySQL. Like that, whichever application, HTTP, Samba, DNS, whichever you are interested, you can just type the name and it shows you the context. Now let us say the boolean is turned off. For example, if I look out in MySQL, there is a boolean MySQL connect any. So allow MySQL to connect to any database, for example. So you want to turn on that particular concept. So what I'll do, I'll use another command. To view, I use get sebool. To modify it, I'll go with a command set sebool. Get for viewing, set for changing. So I want to change the boolean. See, if you don't remember the name, just type MySQL. See, it automatically completes it when you press a tab key. Then I'll say any. What you want to do. So it says you can use 0 to make it disabled, or you can use 1 to make it enable. And if you want to make a permanent change, then you have to use P. I'm not using -P, I'm just going with 0 or 1. Now the Boolean results, what you can type is on or off, or you can type true or false, or as simple 0 or 1. Let me just put it down like this. I'll take a notepad. To change the Boolean, ultimate result, the end result will be on or off. To get on or off, you can either type simply on or off again, or you can type true or false, or you can type 1 or 0. Any of the value will make it on or off, whichever you are comfortable with. For example, I'll say on. Now you check get SE bool, it is on. Suppose same thing I want to disable it. So instead of off, I'll use false. Go back and check it out. You see it is off. Same thing, you wanted to make it on again. So you can say true, right? You want to make it disable. You can simply say what? 0. So sorry. You can go with get SE-bool. Yes, see it's off. So to make it on and off, you can use again on and off, true or false, or 1 or 0. Now, as I told you that whatever change we have learned to make, this change is a temporary change. It is not a permanent change. I want to make it permanent. But before that, I want to learn whether it is temporary or permanent. How can I learn it? You can go with again the command manage booleans. Now you can say grep for MySQL, or let me go with -l. See, MySQL connect any. It is showing off and off. Now just observe here when I make it on. I'll use the command set sebool. I wanted to change the boolean MySQL connect any as on. Now go back with semanage command. Both are offs earlier. Now first fellow is on and second fellow is off. So this is temporary state which is on. Permanent state is off. That means right now it is on, but after reboot it is going to be off. So whatever we have done just with set sebool command, it's a temporary change. If you want to make it a permanent change, then you have to use hyphen capital P. Now a certification tip I'd like to give you. In certification, you have to be changing the Boolean values. Now change the Boolean values to permanent. You know why? Because after your examination is over, they are going to restart your machine. And after restarting, the marks will be awarded to you. So if you have done temporarily, it will be lost and it would be treated as failure, the task. Anyway, now you see both are on. So whenever you want to make a change permanent, to change the booleans permanently, you have to add hyphen P. If you don't add hyphen P, then it is going to be a temporary change. Okay, whether you are activating, deactivating, you use P. To check it, you can go with semanage boolean command that will tell you whether it is temporary or it is permanent. Okay, now let's move ahead. And now let's learn the last part, changing the mode of Linux. Guys, I have already explained you there are three modes of Linux: enforcing, and then permissive, and then disable. So if you want to change from enforcing to permissive, I told you you can do it online, no problem. And if you want to come back from permissive to enforcing, again you can do it online. There is no restrictions for you to reboot your machine. But if you want to change the mode from enforcing to disable or permissive to disable, it is mandatory that you should reboot the system. If you don't reboot the system, it is not going to disable. Why shall I reboot first of all? See, when I explain you the chart of SE Linux, I told you that SE Linux policies are handled by kernel. It is applied on the top of kernel. Now, when you want to apply or remove anything on the top of kernel, it only happens at the time of booting. While the system is up and running, kernel cannot make the changes on itself. So whenever you are removing SE Linux or disabling SE Linux, you have to reboot, and whenever you are bringing it back, even in that case also you have to reboot. So while system is up and running, you can only play with enforcing and permissive. Okay, so let me show you. The current mode is enforcing. To change it to permissive, you have to use a command set enforce. Get and set is very common. So set enforce, you can either say enforcing permissive, or again you can use the shortcut. 1 stands for enforcing and 0 stands for permissive. So I'll say set enforce permissive, no spelling mistake. If I go with get enforce, you see it is changed to permissive. Or I can again say set enforce enforcing. It is back to enforcing, right? Or you can use the shortcut set enforce 0. Check it out, it is changed to permissive. Instead of writing the full word, you can use shortcut. Or say set enforce 1. Go back and check it out, it is changed to enforcing. So that's the way how you can change the mode. But again, the change what I'm doing with set enforce command is temporary. I can prove it. See, if I run set enforce 0 to make it permissive. Is it permissive? Yes. But if you check se status command, it tells you that current mode is permissive, but in the configuration file it is still enforcing. You remember how we changed the host name? When you changed the host name, it was temporary, but when you made the same change in the config, it became permanent. Same thing is happening here. You change from enforcing to permissive, but it is only updated right now. If the system restart, it is going to come back again in enforcing mode. Suppose I want to make permissive as my permanent mode. How can I change the mode permanently? You have to edit the config file. You have to go to etc selinux config, the configuration file. In this config file, there is a line selinux equals to. That is the permanent mode, and here is trying to explain you what is enforcing, what is permissive, what is disabled. So just come to this line and change that enforcing word to whatever you want. Now, if you want, you can type permissive, or if you want to avoid typing, there's already three words written here: enforcing, permissive, disable. Copy paste anything from there. Anyway, let's save and quit. Now, if I go with SE status, current mode is permissive, and mode from config file is also permissive. So that's the way, guys, how we can make the change in the mode. But if you learn set enforce is only allowing you to do enforcing and permissive. It is not allowing you to do disabled. To disable SE Linux policy, suppose you have planned not to use SE Linux on this system. That might not be a great idea, but in some case where SE Linux is interfering too much. See, few applications does not like too much interference of security. In that case, you have to strip off the security, you have to disable SE Linux. But in most of the case, we prefer using SE Linux. Anyway, so I'll go to config file. There is no other way. Go to config file where it is etc SE Linux config. Go to this file and here it is written permissive. Just type or copy paste disabled. Save and quit. Now that's not enough. If you check SE status, it says right now it is permissive, but from the config file it is disabled. That means you have to reboot your machine to make it disabled. Now guys, again, this is a test environment, text box. You can reboot anytime you like. But production machines cannot be rebooted simply like that. You need to get a downtime. Important applications which were running should be shut down. When everyone give a green signal, then you can run a reboot command. So be careful with reboot and shutdown. Now you see, we'll monitor how the system is booting. Does it make any changes during boot or everything remains normal? Let's find out. You can press escape to see the booting process going on. Just observe, is it giving any C Linux related warnings or anything? So this is another thing what it is displaying. No SE Linux related thing. Okay, that's fine. If the system completes the booting, we'll re-log in and we'll check what's the status of SE Linux. Okay, system is almost booted. Let me try to restart the connection. Okay. All right. Now, if you say get enforce, it is disabled. You check SE status, it is disabled. Check sys fs se linux, no such file or directory. So it removed everything from your system related to SE Linux. It is just unmounted. No SE Linux is present, so no security of SE Linux. Now, if you want to re-enable it, if you say set enforce 1 or 0, it says it is disabled. You cannot do like that. So the method is again same. You have to go to etc se linux config, and here it is mentioned disable. Remember my word, whenever it is disabled, you should bring it back to enforcing. That will activate it completely. Many people does a mistake that from disable, they'll make it permissive and it won't activate SE Linux properly. You will face issues. So whenever it is completely disabled, bring it back to completely enabled. Then you can change it to permissive, whatever you want. Okay, so let me save and quit, and again we have to reboot the machine. Now this time you will see a change in booting. See, whenever we ask to remove anything, it removed very fast, but now when I'm asking it to reapply, it is going to take a lot of time. It's same thing, guys, what happens in our day-to-day life. To make something, it takes time, but to break it or finish it, it's a matter of seconds or even less than that, right? So anyway, just an example. So you see now it is going to give us a warning that I have to relabel SE Linux policies. That is going to take a long time. You need to wait for at least 5 to 7 minutes till I complete that. If you want, you can press escape to see what's going around in the background. Okay, now you see you got an error, or not error, I'm sorry, it's a warning. What's the warning it has given? SE Linux target policies relabel is required, right? That means it is telling you that now I'm going to relabel SE Linux. It's also telling relabeling is going to take a very long time depending on what is the file system you are using, speed of the hard drive. So all the policies and everything what was removed is now going to reapply. To reapply it, it is going to take the time. So at least 5 to 7 minutes we have to wait till it completes relabeling. After it completes, one more time the system will restart. See, remember, whenever you are reapplying the policies or whenever you are reactivating SE Linux, there will be two reboot. One reboot you have done, the other reboot is going to do on its own. So at least 5 minutes it is going to take. Now, meanwhile, instead of just watching, if you have any questions to ask, you can put your questions. So another 2 to 3 minutes, guys, we have to wait till it complete the process. Meanwhile, again, I'm telling you, if you have any doubts to ask, you can put your questions. Okay, now it's restarting, guys. It will restart normally this time. Let's see. Okay, it's rebooting. Let's complete it the booting, then we'll log in and check the status. It is booted up completely. One moment. Let's hit complete. Then I'll log in and show you. Okay, let's reconnect to our machine. Username, password. And now if I say get enforce, it is enforcing. SE status, it is back. Right? It is enforcing. So that's it, guys, for today's session. This is how we have to deal with SE Linux, but it is not ended. As I told you, it is going to continue in the coming classes. So please try to work on that as best as possible, because in the coming classes we would be needing the knowledge of SE Linux. If you don't remember it, there you will be having problems, especially when we configure NFS, Samba, DNS and other things. So we'll stop the class over here, guys. I hope there are no questions. So we'll stop the session here and let's meet up tomorrow.